Hey everyone, I just finished the season finale of season 2 Yellowstone, Sins of a Father, and this one was epic. And you know what? Everyone who had anything deserving to them got it. In the beginning of the episode, there was a flashback with John and his father, and you could see that his father is about ready to go. He's in bed and he's got like wires plugged in his arms and stuff, and John undid all that and got a horse ready for him, and they like pretty much took him on his final ride, and they had a heart to heart, and then that's when John's dad made him promise not to give away any of the land, like not even an inch, and he promised him. And then and the whole time they're riding, and there's like an old-fashioned country western song in the background playing, and you just see all the land, and it's actually really gorgeous where they're at. And then it fast forwards to the present day, and John's sitting on the bench like in front of his house with Rip. And he was like, everyone that I love everything that I love got taken away from me. Like, I'm not letting that happen anymore. And he gets up and he walks away and just like kind of leaves Rips just sitting there on the porch. And like a little later, John and the 3 kids, Jamie, Casey, and Beth, are all in his office, like regrouping and taking out a game plan. And John actually sends Beth away, and she's like, no, I want to be a part of this. And he was like, no, he's gonna need someone to come back home to, and just in case if anything bad happens, like the boy's gonna need someone to come home to. So he sends her off, she doesn't get to know the game plan. And she's pretty much like, throughout the whole episode, she's pretty much with Monica, supporting Monica and like just being there as a support system. And in the room, Jamie kind of lowers up and says like how the guys must be thinking. They're like not thinking rationally and blah blah blah. And he's like, that doesn't matter. John's saying like, that doesn't matter. We're still gonna kill him. And Casey, and they're kind of doing a game plan, and he leaves, and then Casey was like, don't worry, I got this. Like, killing's like basically, he didn't say killing, but he's like, this is basically the only thing I'm good at. And he goes back in their bedroom, and Monica's lying there, and she was just like, promise me one thing. He's like, what's that? And he's like, just kill them all. And he's like, oh, I promise I'm gonna kill them. And what's just kind of ironic that she would say that, because if you remember in the previous episode, Beth and her are having a heart to heart, and he's best like saying like how good of a person she is, she has a good soul. And then at the very end of the episode, her son gets kidnapped, so she's like now dealing with that, and she's basically saying like, yeah, kill the people that kidnapped our son. So that whole good soul thing's kind of got damaged there for a minute. And which is, of course, it's Mama Bear coming out, like, of course. And then they go out, and Casey gets Rip from the house that actually John is leaving him, like in his will. And what happened with that is Jamie, John, and Beth are all outside of the house, and John gives Beth a letter, and she opens it up and starts reading it, and Jamie's like, what's that? And Beth's like, none of your business, and just storms off. And she goes and gets Rip and asks him to take a walk with her, and they go to like this random part of the ranch that has like an abandoned cabin on it, and she just right in front of there. He's like, what are we doing over here, Beth? And she's like, I want to read you something. And she reads the letter, and it's pretty much just saying, like, I promised my grandfather, great-grandfather, that we would, like, all his sons will keep this ranch going. And now, like, I've broken that promise because all my sons quit, die, or take off. But then I realized, like, I have another son who's basically talking about Rip, and he's basically giving Rip what he always wanted, like, in his eyes, like, Rip is his son, and he's basically giving him that property to live in. So that was, like, kind of an emotional moment, and Beth was with them at that point, but then she's, like, kind of out of the picture when Casey comes and grabs them. And the lead guy of the Native American tribe sends John, like, one of his best soldiers, and they're all, like, teaming up, and it's basically like a military operation. They're, like, getting ready to, like, hone in and attack. And actually Casey was a Marine, so he's probably, like, was training and talking to everyone through them. And then they go busting into this house and just like a total operation move, like, in killing everyone there. And the Native American actually, like, that was sent to them, like, did something to Rip's horse, like putting, like, all this medicine stuff on him, and, like, was basically saying, like, this horse is now gonna be invincible. And Rip was like, oh, can you rub some of that on me? And he's like, it's not gonna work on you. It's like, and that was kind of a funny moment. But then after that, something kind of happens, and they go off and they kill literally everyone in that room. And they kill and John actually ends up killing the older brother, and he's basically gonna die a slow death. And he was like, I promise, either you're gonna die a slow death, or you're gonna tell me where my grandson is, and I could finish the job quickly. So he goes and tells him, but he doesn't like finish off the job quickly, which is like what I thought that was kind of funny. Or what it was is like, you're not gonna die, I'll send you like to the hospital, and you got my word on that. It's like, oh, I don't want to go to the hospital. And they had like this moment where he's like, I wish I had never met you. And John's like, just starts laughing, and he's like, oh, I bet you don't. And then a recap of what kind of happened a little earlier, Casey actually used his wildlife, he's like not really a cop, but he's like someone who protects his wildlife, or herd and stuff for all the ranches. And he goes and acts like he has like some business on that with one of the brothers. So he goes off and he goes into the house and pretty much like military through that house, like kind of did that military walk where he's just gonna ambush him. And he's like on the toilet, like reading a newspaper, and Casey just comes in and just shoots him right in the stomach, and he's like freaking out. And then he's like, what? So he goes down and shoots him in the leg, and he's like, oh, I have plenty of places where I could shoot you before you die, so you better tell me where my kid is. And he's like, not like, pretty much like, don't let me die on the toilet, like, geez, like, at least move me. And he's like, but before that, and that's when Casey like kills him. But before that, he's like, nobody ever fights back, like, you. And then Casey's like, well, you don't know my family that well. And he's like, but you're not gonna kill me. And he's like, oh, I promise my wife I will. And then bang, the last shot was like a death shot. And then Casey gets his gun and kind of turns and shoots up the wall behind him, and left the fingerprints, like the dead guy's fingerprints, like all over the gun, and leaves the gun just sitting there, and then like takes off. And then that's kind of the end of that. asshole brother number 1 down. And then after that night with John, and then he kills like the asshole brother number 2, which is actually the older brother. So Casey killed the younger brother, and John killed the older brother. And then they didn't really like go home after that or anything. And just the next scene, it's daylight, and John is at the house and Rip is at the house. But the next scene, it just shows like all the cops and everything like busting down this house, and Casey's with them. So it kind of seems like they all went home and regrouped, and then Casey just left with the cops, and then they just shot up the whole house. And the sheriff, who's actually friends with John, kicks in the bathroom door and was like, Casey, you don't want to come in here. Casey, you don't want to see this. And he pretty much knows like that means that his son's in there. So there's a moment where no one really knew like what was up with his son, because the camera was like facing out of the bathroom. And so Casey just runs in there, and his boy is just like in the bathtub like screaming, like scared to death. And then Casey has to hug him and like make him look at him. It's like, it's daddy. And that was like a really touching and emotional moment. And then like they shaved off his head, which is why. And so he takes him home, and they're in the backseat of a truck, and he's just like holding on to him. And next no one really sees like who actually calls John. I'm thinking it's probably the sheriff, because like Casey wouldn't like have that emotional moment where like, oh, I need to call my dad. He's holding on to his son. So I'm thinking the sheriff called John and tell him like, hey, we got him, he's safe, he's okay. And then John goes back in the house, and the camera's like outside the house looking through the window, so it doesn't really have like, you don't hear the conversation that's going on, but pretty much he's like saying Casey's got him. And then Monica's like lying on the couch on Beth's lap, and they're like, Beth's like comforting her, and she just gets up and like hugs John. And Beth walks out of the house and like starts smoking and looks up, and then Rip's just sitting there like, well, standing there like leaning up against a tree, and she kind of has this laughing moment where it's like, you're never too far away, are you? And he's like, nope, I'm not. And so then they have like kind of a fun little moment, and she was like, we're gonna lose this place, right? And he's like, yeah, I have a feeling we're all gonna lose this place. And she's like, what will you do? And it's probably the same thing I do, just now and just somewhere else. And he's like, walks a little towards her, and they like are this close to each other. So I'm like, is this gonna be it? Is this finally where they're gonna kiss? But he's just like, ask her, like, what are you gonna do, Beth, after all of this is over? And she's like, I'm gonna sleep for a year. And then he just starts busting out laughing, and he's like, well, if you ever want company, just let me know. And then he like kind of walks away, and she's like, oh, I'll let you know. And he just starts laughing again and just keeps walking away. And I'm like, dang it, they didn't kiss. And that is actually how it ended. Jamie hasn't really made a decision about his future on the family. Casey and Rip isn't, there you have that understanding where they love each other, and they both know that they love each other, but they just haven't gotten together yet. And Casey's got his boy back, and they're a 3-0 good family now. And there's one other scene in the very beginning, not in the very beginning, but kind of in the beginning, that the billionaire guy who came to Montana and was trying to take the ranch away for development, got shot up and killed. 2 men in black ski masks comes and shoots his bodyguard in the temple because he's just sitting in his car looking straight out the windshield, but he's kind of parked not facing the house, but like kind of here's the house and here's the car, so he's facing that way and the house is next to him. But someone comes up to the passenger window, not really up, but shoots through the passenger window and gets him in the temple and comes into the house, and then the billionaire guy, sees him and hides in the kitchen and grabs the gun out of one of the drawers and goes into a closet and hides, and it's like one of those doors that has those like flipper thingies where you could look through. And then he sees him, and you kind of could see the guy, but you can't, no one really could tell who he is. I don't think he is a someone who's been around before, because I couldn't really make out his eyes, but really that's all I saw. And he just through the closet door, he just shoots him up. And I'm guessing, thinking that's it, he goes and opens the door, and some other guy comes in and sees what just happened and shoots him in the side, and then the billionaire guy falls down and just starts shooting him up and killing him. And thinking that's the end of it, he walks outside and like looks up in the sky and just sees clear blue sky, and a third one comes up, and he's like, wait, and so he shoots him through his hand and gets him in the head, and he just goes down, and you could see like the blood is coming from his mouth, but he was just like, had this moment where he was like looking up in the sky and he's still conscious, and he's like, I have a right to be here, I have a right to be here, this is America. Which it's kind of ironic, like you're dying and those are gonna be your last words. But then you see the guys like pulling the dead bodies out of there, so it's like a blood leaving trail. And then the next thing after that, all the cops, that's a complete huge crime scene, and all the cops are there marking everything off, and the sheriff goes over and then John, and John's like, well, do you believe me now? That I guess that there's someone, like these brothers are crazy and they're like causing all this. And then that actually was in the beginning. So, and there was a rumor going around that one of the main characters out of Yellowstone was gonna get killed off. I'm guessing, well, I guess he was like a main character, so I guess that's what happened. And I kind of knew, like I had this fear that that meant like they were gonna kill someone off of the Dunn family, but like then how would it be a show anymore if they would do that? But so one of the main characters would have been, he definitely was a main character, so now he's gone. So yeah, that was the season 2 finale. I can't believe it. It's not gonna come back until 2020. I don't even know what I'm going to do with my Wednesdays, because I need these on Wednesdays, because Wednesdays are crazy, crazy days. But then again, I am also watching Suits, so I'll just probably watch that on Wednesday nights instead of like, because I'm DVRing this, so by the time I get home it's already recorded, and I just watch it and then go to bed, so I don't really have time to do anything else. So I guess Suits is just going to have to take over. But it won't be like Yellowstone. Yellowstone's crazy and I love it. And it's like a kind of heritage, it's my heritage meets just nature versus nurture, right? Like that's my nurture way of life, is Montana, the wide open spaces and the country and country music and cowboys. Oh, I'm gonna miss the show. I have like at least 10 of these episodes just recorded, and I am gonna end up like just having a marathon night, I bet. But that is my season finale wrap up, and I hope you guys are watching Yellowstone. If not, then I highly recommend it right now. Probably both season 1 and season 2 is on demand. I have watched season 1, obviously, but I have not done any of these recordings because I didn't really watch season 1 like as it came on weekly. I kind of just got into it knowing that season 2 was coming out and seeing all the previews for it, so I backtracked and watched basically a marathon on demand of season 1, and I just fell in love with it. And I'm like, I have to watch this new season. And by the time I got done with the season 1 on demand, it was only like a week later when season 2 premiered. So, and wow, listen, man, I'm getting like emotional. But this show is crazy. I love it, and it has literally everything from the action to love to the family drama to, it has literally everything for everybody. It's amazing. Watch Yellowstone. Okay, see you later. Bye bye.